So,
Okay.
good evening. I'll say it this way: good evening, and welcome to the Lower Makefield Township Sewer Subcommittee meeting. I believe this is our first meeting of 2020. Sewer Subcommittee was set up sort of an ad hoc committee at the Sewer Authority's recommendation by the Board of Supervisors back in 2018 to include 2 members of the Board of Supervisors and 2 members of the Sewer Authority. Staff also often attends these things as well, depending on where we're at. Quick recap, and if I start coughing, John, you can take over. I apologize. It's been a rough month. I'm not. Yeah, anyway, cough drops are working, as is the coffee right now. Basically, we're back in mid 2018, I guess. We started an evaluation of specifically alternative treatment options, whether it's building plants or becoming bulk rate customers to existing plants, some combination thereof, including any additional transmission conveyance systems that may be required. For example, a 7-mile pipe down to Lower Bucks was one thing we looked at. Over the course of 2018 and 2019, we evaluated a handful of options for treatment purposes. We finished up with those reviews about this time, maybe June, July of 19, as memory serves. John wasn't on the sewer subcommittee in 19, but was on in 18, so you got a feel for it, and then excuse me. And then just recently, at the July 1st Board of Supervisors meeting, and this report, I believe, is on the township website, Fred Ebert was asked by the township manager to present his version of the sewer subcommittee work to date. That was basic, and if you haven't reviewed it in detail, it's exactly the same attachments as were reviewed by the sewer subcommittee at the meetings where he presented each individual option. The same bullet points, the same data, everything's the same. Essentially, that report is taking those reviews, some of which were a year and a half old, and putting a cover page on it and to summarize the sewer treatment options that had been reviewed to date. It also, that report, this, to be clear, the sewer subcommittee never reviewed, provided input to anything on that report other than was presented the individual pieces over the course of a year and a half. That report was then finalized from his perspective, based on the information to date, and presented to the board on July 1st. So that's the treatment option. As you all are aware, we have been reviewing as a board the potential sale of the system. That was with PFM, as I think you all are aware, as the sort of the consultant on the deal, with Obermeyer as the attorney. There was a process that initiated July of last year. The initial schedule was to have all that information in hand by November, December of last year. As I think you're aware, we went through an RFIB process, indicative bid process, that included one concession lease option and three purchase options. The purchase options included 2 private buyers, PA Water and Aqua America, and one public entity, Bucks County Water and Sewer. At the meeting this evening, this evening for the Board of Supervisors, on the agenda is our presentations by PA Water and Aqua, also for consideration of the sale of the system. And I believe there's an agenda item considering a potential concession lease on there as well. And, essentially, I believe the board will likely vote on that this evening, as I understand it. Obviously, we could not, this sewer subcommittee did not have access to any of the bids prior to them going public, had not been consulted to review anything, which was purview of the board, despite how we were established. We were unable to, from a board perspective, we were not able to talk about any of this due to the stay that was placed by the Court of Common Pleas that has been lifted, hence the agenda this evening. So in hearing from all of you, I believe you all wanted a chance to review and formally provide a recommendation from the sewer subcommittee, given all the work that we put in over the last year and a half or two. So tonight is your opportunity to see what's public and provide a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. John, there are, I believe there is still an active litigation. So there are some things that we've been advised not to discuss in detail, and that's fine. And if any of that comes up, it's clear to me, I'll raise my hand, John, if you could do the same. Mm-hmm. And then, the goal is tonight is not to, personally, I don't want to start arguments with other board members over something. The goal is to provide the best possible advice as a sewer subcommittee to the Board of Supervisors moving forward as we embark on what I consider to be, I think all of us would consider this to be the largest single transaction this township may ever see. It's a big deal for our ratepayers and our residents to get this right. So sorry, I didn't mean to take over at the beginning. I just wanted to make sure that we set some background.
I'm still trying to question why did everything go as fast as it did. And as I explained to Scott, the last time that the sewer system was going to be sold, the sewer authority was involved, and the sewer authority did review the bids and made the recommendation to the supervisors. And at that time, they sided with the sewer authority and the people that at the meeting that got up and said it would be a mistake, and they did not sell the system because at that time, Aqua America was giving us $17 million, paid it, and it was over a 5-year payment. So my thing is, why did things get rushed so fast and bypass the sewer authority?
I'll give you my perspective. Depending on who you talk to on the board and in the public, some will say this has been going on for years. Others will say it went, just like you said, this went pretty fast. I think the board made a decision about 2 years ago actually a year ago. I shouldn't say 2 years ago because it was a year ago where we moved forward with PFM. About this time last year, we were just starting because I attended a meeting at Yardley Borough where they invited us to a joint meeting with their sewer authority and Borough Council. MMA was there, and they were asking us where we were at, and we were just getting started. I kind of laid out what I thought was the schedule based on the information provided. That's obviously been stretched out about 8 months based on how long it took to get the bids. But I think it started off pretty slow, generally as things do. And then they added an extra, as soon as it went to RFIB in the spring, it moved very, very quickly to the point where we got bids in mid-June. They were initially, the bids were going, tonight's agenda was going to be July 1st. So within a few weeks of getting the bids and getting a summary review by PFM, the stay obviously put the brakes on that. And now this is the first, over the course of, not much happened from a bid review, meetings with other municipalities, all that stuff that had come up, that Yardley Borough sent us a letter asking the township to meet to discuss. I think MMA sent us a letter. We got letters from the Democratic Party leadership, the Republican Party leadership, all asking us to do the same thing. Excuse me.
I know that we couldn't really do those meetings because of the court telling us not to discuss any of it. So my suggestion, basically, the supervisors, they should reject all the bids, and let's complete discussions, with the boroughs, complete discussions with state, federal, and so forth. I mean, our hands were tied for that period of time when we couldn't talk about it. And I think, rejecting the bids is not saying goodbye to the buyers, because it goes out for bid again. The same buyers are going to be there, and the same value is going to be there. So that would be my suggestion, to give us more time to do the right thing for the taxpayer, and have the meetings with the municipalities, and maybe look into the joint authority, or look at the other bids. I just heard another bid came in today from Bucks County Water and Sewage.
So my question to Dan and John, I guess, is: are we allowed to acknowledge that that third bid, if you want to call it, from Bucks County Water and Sewer, and is it being considered, or can it be considered?
So,
and is the township manager going to address that tonight?
I think I can answer that question for you. So, and because this is a public document, and I think I asked the township manager to send it to you. I don't know if he did. I've been in meetings, but so last Thursday, Bucks County Water and Sewer submitted a bid to our sewer council and the township manager. And yesterday they had Bucks County Water and Sewer met to approve a resolution in support of the bid. And the bid is for $55 million, but it has a contingency related to getting financing. So the question before the folks, the question is that a valid bid worth consideration? And that's a legal discussion that the solicitor will enter into the discussion tonight. I can say from a cursory review of their bid, it's approximately $14.8 million better than the Aqua bid. And while it's $55 million, I forget what's Aqua's number again. I guess I could pull that up.
Aqua is 53 and change, I think, and PA Water is 56.
Yeah, so so the purchase price proposal that we have right now is Pennsylvania America Water 56.1, Bucks County Water and Sewer 55, Aqua 53. But when you look at what rates are paid by folks, if we were to choose Aqua, we would receive $2 million less upfront, and ratepayers would pay an additional $12.8 million over the next 10 years. So that's just the next 10 years from that analysis. The questions, and these are legal questions that will be discussed tonight, as to whether that bid is considered valid or not. And you have if you're going to sell an asset, you have a fiduciary responsibility to folks to make sure that you maximize the value of the asset. And I would argue that we've done things in this process that have skewed the bidding process both up and down. So I don't know that we truly have what I would consider a proper value of the conveyance asset. For example, by telling people that we want out of the sewer conveyance business in our bid documents indicates that we're a distressed seller. But conversely, increasing sewer rates 40% last year is the way to say, hey, your discounted cash flows are going to look a lot better. So those two items drive and created noise in the bidding process as to whether or not we have a valid estimate of the value of the conveyance system. And I would argue we don't have that. Additionally, we haven't received any analysis of comparable sewer sales in Pennsylvania to compare this against. So we don't really know, is the bids that we received really good, somewhat good, not good at all? We don't have any benchmark on that. And last year I asked the township manager and PFM for comparable data, and I was refused that. They said initially, they said no, then they said yes, I would get partial data in writing. And then at the June 20th meeting, it was confirmed that I would get that data, but I still haven't received it. So we don't know if the bids that we received are good or not good on an EDU basis. So we don't really know. And I can't say, did we get a good deal, not a good deal, because I can't compare it against anything. And I didn't get the analysis to deliver that. So in absence of that, I can't say whether this is a good, if I'd be making a good financial decision on behalf of the ratepayers and the taxpayers, because I simply don't have the information of it.
And we should have the information. I mean, and two, I mean, when the bids come in, I mean, are they going to hold rates for so many years or not?
Depends on the bidder. Some bidders agreed to hold rates for a fixed period of time. And then once their ability to go, the PUC is in place, then all bets are off. Then you're at the mercy of the PUC and whether they accept the rate hike or not. And you don't know exactly what that is. So there's no guarantees on those out years. So it makes it very difficult to value what the rates would be under a couple different scenarios. In fact, Pennsylvania American Water actually had expressed concerns with the analysis, and we haven't seen the revisions of the numbers to reflect their concerns exactly.
Well, the other thing too, Pennsylvania American Water, would they be billing the customers on a monthly basis or would it be on a quarterly basis? I mean, the taxpayers would like to know that. And also too, is it changed that your sewer line from your home to the curb is your responsibility? But are they changing that to where the sewer line from your home now goes out to the lateral and you're responsible for it? I mean, these type of things that are going to cripple a homeowner.
Yes. And there's a lot of other questions in terms of, so those are certainly some potential risk elements for ratepayers and taxpayers. There's also potential benefits in theory that you could have one billing statement for both your water and wastewater, that you could have differential billing practices, that your water line insurance could cover your sewer line. All those things are possible. And even some of the private vendors could make arguments that they have economies of scale in sewer line maintenance and upkeep and I&I and stuff like that. However, we don't have data to suggest that that's true or not true.
The thing that I saw, I think it was Aqua, don't count me on that, but a system in Pittsburgh that they own could have a major repair. And then they go and they put across the board, including Lower Makefield, everybody else, a rate increase to pay for that repair that they just did. So we're putting in with a third party, we're in a basket. I mean, if they have Montgomery County and they have a major fix, we're still going to be part of that to fix that because the shareholders want their money. I mean, I like the Bucks County thing, and that should be, really considered. And that's why I say, we can at the point ask the supervisors to reject all the bids. And let's do it the right way of getting new bids, taking our time to read them all, and then let's find out what the best solution is for the township, not, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, I may be a little further along than some of the other members, but I think you're going to have to sell the system. I just think who you sell it to is the most important part. And if you can't consider that Buck's bid, which I'm assuming is what Dave will tell us tonight, I don't see the harm in going out and rewriting the solicitation. Again, the whole process has kind of been a little sloppy and kind of has the appearance of not a ton of transparency. Whether that's true or not, I think the appearance hasn't been good. And then also too, I don't think the focus has been there. Like, you know, we've been considering like the concession lease and stuff like that. I think they should table tonight, and they should host a meeting of joint, you know, municipalities, see where they're at. And I'm going to come to the conclusion that Lower Makefield will ultimately come to the conclusion that they're going to have to sell. And then you write a solicitation in mind where you don't have, oh, well, we may do this concession lease and we're going to talk about this in executive session. No, you're just going to sell. And is the objective to get the highest price? And then what type of buyer are we looking for? And if it's a PUC member, or, you know, are we willing to look at other things? And then once you do that, it's transparent, it's out front, you're explaining your vision. It'd be nice if the township manager could articulate the vision for this sale, how he's going to use the money, where is it going to go, what do the supervisors want to do? And then I think you'll get community buy-in, and hopefully the vote will be 5-0, because this is one of the largest financial transactions in the history of the township. To do it with 3 votes in the middle of summer, you know, during a pandemic, with bids being revised 48 hours beforehand, it just doesn't look good. And that's where I'm at. I understand some people may not want to sell, or I know there's one supervisor concerned about Yardley Borough in particular. You know, so you may not be there where I'm at, but I don't see the harm in rewriting in giving the solicitation another shot, and bringing more stakeholders to the table. So that's where I'm at.
And you know, when you write the specs on a bid, you could put in there that you look for them to hold the pricing for 3 to 5 years, because I mean, in less than 2 years, John, we've had a 77% increase in sewer rates. I mean, how much more can the taxpayers take?
Yeah, and we're already at the high end of the rate spectrum within Bucks County, and I think part of the appeal of the Bucks County Water and Sewer bid is we're already way above their current rate base, so they could easily freeze us for a long period of time,
right,
without any risks. Yeah, and that's something to consider as well, right? So that we could say to folks, you know, hey, you're going to be paying a lot, but you're going to be at least flat for a significant period of time. And the Bucks bid did have a longer flat period with some more flexibility. And the question, though, is the question's about contingency. So any one of these bids has a contingency associated with it. The contingency associated with the Bucks County Water and Sewer bid is, can they get financing, right? But we don't really need $55 million up front in one slug. It could be over time. The bids from Aqua and Pennsylvania American Water, they also have a contingency as well. And that's that the PUC approves that acquisition, right? And that can take up to a year.
All right, so Bucks County, we would see money faster with Bucks County than we will with
yeah, and I'm not concerned about Bucks County getting the fine. Their last bond issue, I think, sold out in less than 2 days or something. Mm-hmm. I know my dad bought on that last project, and the rate was like really low. I was trying to talk him out of it, actually, but so I think they'll be able to get it.
Dan and John, I think tonight, I think you really bring them to their senses. Basically, we know it's going to be sold. but let's do what's right for the taxpayer. And, you know, we can reject these bids and rebid it again, and we can put some input in it. Input, not, you know, I don't know how PM, whatever, how they put out the bid, but we could actually put in there, we looked for rates to be, you know, frozen over time. And as John said, Bucks County is the one that can hold our rates.
Yeah, and I think the challenge of why this got sped up, and this is something that really, and maybe Dan, it was communicated to you and I didn't catch it because there's so many moving parts here. So if I did, it's that these bids expired so quickly, right? That the bids were only valid for a certain period of time.
They
expire in the next 2 days. That's a big part of the reason we're having this meeting this evening.
Yeah.
Because the bids are about to
so let them expire. They're going to bid on them again. Okay. I've been through the bidding process for many years. Okay. You know, we rejected bids and we're going to rebid the pump station, Dan, because of pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we can reject these bids and then we can put them out again. American's going to be there. Aqua's going to be there. Bucks County's going to be there. And the others are going to be there. It's opportunity that they want. So by doing the right thing for the taxpayers, we can reject all these bids.
Yeah, and just you know, I'm sure the supervisors will, or not these two supervisors, but the other three will make a big deal about these bids expiring or whatever. I can tell you from being in the industry, although I do federal procurement, not municipal, solicitations get canceled all the time. You know, proposals I've written, you know, I have to rewrite, they get revised. You know, you can file a GAO complaint, doesn't usually go anywhere. So, you know, there's no harm in writing a new solicitation. And also too, like, our solicitation wasn't that great. You know, you could even consider maybe going with someone else other than PFM, which no one, like, we only went with them. Like, and we could look at someone else. We could go with them again. We could make it clearer exactly what we're looking for this time. It's a chance to do it right and appear transparent. I don't see what the rush is, you know, and you could still do it in a relatively decent amount of time. So I don't think it pushes it out that much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I would push that tonight, guys. I don't think they need to do this right now. It just doesn't look good, you know, and that's where I'm at.
I agree with Scott 100%.
Since you guys are the non-supervisor members of the subcommittee, you'd have the option of making a motion, seconding it, and getting approval. Before that, if you wanted to take public comment, if there was any, you could do that too as well, if there's anybody online who has questions.
Is there anyone online?
We do have people for public comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Moving in now. All right, Peter, you're in.
Hello, Peter. Can you give us your name and address, please? Hello?
Peter, you're on mute.
Okay, they just unmuted me. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you give us your name and address, please?
Yeah, Peter LaChance. I'm a law enforcement officer, so I don't give my address, but I guarantee you I live in Lower Makefield because I'm elected here.
Okay.
Okay. So my comment, and I like what I'm hearing in terms of rebidding. I mean, I've been talking about that for a long time. This was a non-transparent process by any measure. I don't think the Board of Supervisors could say that they did their fiduciary duty. You know, not that they're all at fault because this had to do with just a few people, but to do the fiduciary duty properly, I think the bid should be either let them expire or just reject them and rebid. I do want to add, though, that the lease bid, which of course, like all the other bids, no one's had a chance to take a look at it to see what the terms and conditions are. But the benefit of the lease is that you would get about the same amount of money up front as you would in a sale. So I don't know why you would reject that in the future if you were to drop all bids, because in 50 years, the assets come back to you and then you sell them for like $100 million. And if you take that back in net present value, that's worth an extra $5 million today for the right to take that asset back. So, that's something that's not been considered. It's something that should be considered. Also, if you write the contract correctly, after some period of time, you can also write in there that you could transfer assets. The contracting agency can become somebody besides LMT. You could sell the right to get the assets back to another agency. And let's say in 25 years, that could be worth $25, $30 million again, but you wouldn't collect the $100 million at the end of 50. So if you ran into some financial straits, you would have some flexibility. There's a lot of flexibility with regard to the lease, a typical lease. Again, I don't know what this one looks like. Nobody knows what this stuff looks like.
It looks like either, Peter, and that's why we're having this special meeting to try to get the supervisors to reject the bids and start fresh.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's not about whether or not the concession lease is the proper proportion. It's when a chance to rewrite the solicitation is an opportunity to have a robust discussion on that potential option and then either eliminate it or seriously consider it and make it the focus of the solicitation. And that's where a focused, robust discussion about what we're writing and what ultimately goes out on the street for people to review and then bid on. And then that way people are more clear, because clearly if you look at the bids, I don't think big bucks, its bids are kind of like all over the place and not like very clear. And it wasn't kind of what we were looking for, but I think that's also a product that our solicitation was garbage. And I think it was written for a particular bidder in mind who tends to win PFM, solicitations. So that's where I'm kind of upset about the process.
right. And I agree with that. I'm just saying, rather than, because what was said before was let's start all over and make it clear that we're just selling the system. A lease is not selling the system. So I'm just saying, why don't we say we want to open it up to new bids written correctly for either the purchase of the system or the lease of the system. And if you don't want to add any complexity to it, get rid of I was touted, let's look for O&M contracts to do a 5, 6, 7, 10 year, have someone come in and fix things. If that's off the table, that's fine by me. But I think that, given the financial situation the township's in, maybe that shouldn't be on the table anymore. But I agree with somebody had mentioned, I think it was John, that, the document, it was John, the document that went out said that, this township's not interested in owning sewer assets. Well, yet, PFM said, yeah, we looked for O&M bids, none came in. Well, no duh, Dick Tracy. Who's going to submit a bid with that preface? So the whole thing was done in a very sloppy way, which somebody else said, and I totally agree. And I said that in court last Wednesday. Lack of transparency, sloppily written. The whole process stunk. And I've never seen a bid process like this in my life. And I used to do a lot of bidding, and I used to help clients review bids. Never, ever this bad.
Well, we're going to do what we can, and we thank you, and let's just see what happens.
Okay, well, I appreciate the work you all are doing.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Anyone else on?
Jeff will be coming in now. Hi, it's Jeff Allgale, 823 Stark Circle, Yardley, PA.
Good evening.
I just wanted to ask something that I think is unrelated to any litigation. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I just want to know how this affects a sale, if it is to a PUC member, how it affects Yardley Borough. Because I know there is a lot of concern on the Borough Council's part about what Lower Makefield does, and I just wanted to kind of flesh that out and see how this would affect Yardley Borough. Because I know a lot of people in Lower Makefield are very leery about hurting our little brother there in the borough.
Well, Dan?
As far as I know, and I am not a contract expert nor an attorney, so I'll preface it with that. As far as I know, the way it's been written is any purchaser of the Lower Makefield system would be responsible for maintaining any active agreements. John, correct me if I misspeak here. So when it comes to the sale of the system, it would just be Yardley Borough. It would, some entity purchaser, I assume, would take over Lower Makefield's reins, and Yardley Borough would have to deal directly with them. And they would either maintain their existing agreements or renegotiate as they saw fit. And when it comes to, so that's the transmission conveyance side. What's a little more, I think what's more vague at this point, based on the one Yardley Borough meeting I attended last year, is the treatment end of the sewer system. As you know, Yardley Borough, Lower Makefield, Morrisville, part of Falls are all part of MMA. I think at least what was presented at that meeting last year by MMA is that if Lower Makefield sells the system, they were looking at transitioning from a 10 million gallon per day plant to a 5 million gallon per day plant. The delta in cost is not that great. The base cost of any new plant is rather high. So going from 5 to 10, it was still millions of dollars in difference, but not tens of millions of dollars in difference from what I recall. But they would no longer have a split with Lower Makefield in the picture. So they would, at least from that presentation, looks like they'd be paying a higher percentage of their treatment costs.
Right.
Of their plant costs, not their treatment costs per se, but the plant construction costs. I think I misspoke there. That's my understanding.
So we'll hurt Yardley.
You know,
And
obviously
then,
this is
and again, too, then when these Morrisville open, if they're not going to be happy with that contract to renegotiate. So that's just something we got to wait and see. And, if the sale goes, whatever happens with the sale.
Yeah, and the
All right.
borough council won't like that, but they inherit that agreement. That agreement is a chance to renegotiate. We don't know what, the northern flows of Lower Makefield already go through the Neshaminy Interceptor. So we don't know what Bucks would do, but perhaps there would be a future potential for Yardley to join as like Bucks as like a bulk customer, assuming new infrastructure is built to redivert flows. We don't know what they're going to do, but it's certainly something that, the council could ask, to that authority.
And my last question, did the board issue a formal response to that, I believe it was a July letter from the Yardley Borough Council about a meeting? Did anybody ever respond back from Lower Makefield?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't believe there was I don't believe the majority of the board wanted to meet with Yardley Borough or anyone. Well, John, you discussed it at the last meeting. I wasn't there. I watched it on video after. You could explain that better than I can. I'm sorry.
So technically, the board, I think it was unanimously voted 5-0 to meet with our local elected officials. And part of the impetus for that was to explore funding sources and strategies that could be intermunicipal for sewage treatment and conveyance in the area. And part of the interesting thing about that was what people don't calculate often in the analysis of selling to a private company versus a public authority is that public authorities can get government benefits for infrastructure improvements. And we recently, we're right now working the one grant for the pump station, right? That came from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania also provided a grant of $1 million to MMA as part of the process around exploring a new sewage treatment facility. So if we were to sell to a private entity, those funds would no longer be there for us. And so, granted, could we potentially get other grants, and do they even that out? One never knows, but that's certainly part of that. And would there be a potential opportunity, particularly as it relates to COVID funding and what we've learned about sewage treatment facilities, understanding where outbreaks occur? Fascinating research. That could there be, supplemental CARES funding or other stuff to help with a new sewage treatment plant? Representative Fitzpatrick was willing to meet. State Senator Sarah was willing to meet. Representative Perry Warren was also willing to meet, but the board never followed up. So we sent a letter, and they all sent letters or emails back saying they would love to meet. And we decided, or I would say a majority of the board decided to not respond to their agreeing to meet with us. And that was partly rather frustrating because, if you decide you're not going to talk to people, even whether you like them or not, sometimes you learn things when you talk to people. And I think we just kind of shut our ears to the rest of the community and exploring opportunities. And in my mind, that clearly makes the case that we're not really truly exploring the public interest for Lower Makefield ratepayers and taxpayers or neighbors in the community.
Was there a reason given for not meeting with these elected officials?
You'd have to go back and watch the meeting on that one, because I'm still having a difficult time processing that, because my understanding was that we had received back and there was no follow-up from the township manager.
All right, thanks, and get well soon, Dan. I'll see you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else?
Tim is coming in now.
Hello, my name is Tim Malloy, 1902 Makefield Road, Yardley, PA.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the chairman, I guess that's Phil Tyler, for scheduling this meeting. I was involved in the sewer sale many years ago. I was actually a township auditor for Lower Makefield Township. I served 2 terms. I do understand the financials and some of the pressure the Board of Supervisors are facing right now. So specifically for the sewer, just want to make sure my facts are straight. First of all, so the bids were received mid-June. Is that correct?
It's a good
Dan or
question.
John?
The presentation on the bids was our second meeting in June. So, John, you froze up if you're.
Yeah,
okay.
sorry.
I want to. I forget the day, but whatever.
Yeah, I remember reading it in the Courier Times, and I think someone earlier in the meeting said it was around mid-June.
Yeah, that's about
and
right.
And then I think Supervisor Lewis said the Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority bid was received last Thursday.
Yes, and it was confirmed by a Bucks County Water and Sewer Board meeting yesterday. So they had a special session of their board to confirm the bid and provide a resolution to us yesterday.
Okay, thanks for that. And then the last person said that the board or the township did not respond to the Yardley Borough Council's desire to have a joint meeting. Is that correct?
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a timing issue. I mean, if the bids were received in June and we just received the Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority, that doesn't leave a lot of time. So I guess in conclusion, there's really no reason not to delay the vote tonight and then rebid. I can't think of one reason because, I think these issues all need to be addressed. I've been on Facebook. I think the public is clamoring for clear information. I don't think it looks good because, you guys work hard. The board works hard. And I think everybody's trying to do the best for the township. But I think the perception is it's sort of the process is sort of out of control. And I do know that Lower Makefield Township Sewer Authority was involved when the bids were received, I guess it was 4 or 5 years ago, and did recommend not to sell. And I do know that the board voted not to sell. I was in the room when the board voted not to sell. So I appreciate your efforts, and I think your recommendations are very important. And I think, Lower Makefield Township produces great citizens who serve on these boards and these commissions. And I think the board has always leveraged this talent. I mean, I'm very impressed tonight. And I think that's really the best way to go. And I think someone, I'm not sure, it might have been Scott, said about a 5-0 vote. That would be great. You know what I mean? It just shows, unity, I think, in the township. And I just have one final comment, if I might.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's this. I made the same comment before. Sewers should be owned by municipal authorities or by the state. I used to say that at different meetings, and it was like, oh, no, capitalism, this, and the private sector, that. But roads, bridges, sewers should really be owned by governments. Our government or some municipal authority, or even if the state government takes over our sewer, we will outlast Aqua America as a corporation. And municipal authorities offer many, many benefits. Obviously, paying dividends, corporate overhead, sovereign immunity, and also just the board itself, the Bucks County Water and Sewer Authority board itself. My understanding, they're all local, and I think they would be much more responsive to the needs of the township. So I see a sewer as a very critical infrastructure. Ancient governments have always maintained the sewers under government control. So I would absolutely oppose selling to Aqua America. But I guess, that's your recommendation, and then I guess it's the board's decision. But I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Tim. And you have a good evening. Anyone else?
There are no more callers.
Okay, well, Dan and John, you got our recommendation.
Yeah, can I ask a question here?
Sure.
So we've heard recommendations to, let me say this, Scott, I kind of feel like you do relative to it's more likely that it'll get sold, and honestly, we may need to sell it. It's just, I don't think we've done the homework to make that final determination that is indeed the option, right? I think we have a lot of people assuming that's the option. No, absolutely nobody's done the homework to roll up our sleeves and put a little joint municipal task force together for whatever you want to, whatever else you want to call it, like we've done for other things, and just have that conversation and, have rip the Band-Aid off, say, does it work? Does it not? How would it work? If it's going to work, how would it work? Can we make it work? And if it doesn't, say, okay, we tried, moving right along, kind of thing. Because this not only affects future conveyance sewer transmission, it will affect how we handle our future treatment as well in some way, shape, or form, which is even bigger part of our bill.
Yeah.
So I think my position has never been don't sell, despite what people say on Facebook all the time about me. It's rather frustrating to get berated on Facebook by people that work for the township sometimes, or other places that that have no idea. I can only say it so many times that I'm not opposed to selling.
No, I think
But I think we need to do our homework before we get there.
Scott and I are just saying, let's do it right. Okay. Yes. If it's got to be sold, let's do it right. And let's look out for the taxpayer. Okay. The last thing the taxpayer needs is have it sold. They go to the PUC and get a 14% increase on top of the 77 increase they already have in less than 2 years, John. So, I mean, yes, let's do it right this time. There's reject the bids. Let's put in there some things in the bids. I mean, Scott is very capable of helping, to write the bid specs. And then let's not, and when the bids come in, let's review them and really look at all of them. Let's just don't look at a price tag. Let's look at what they're putting into those bids.
Yeah. Couple things, Phil. I'll be very honest. I don't think Scott, full disclosure, Scott and I ran against each other a few years back. But as you know, we argue a little bit here and there, but we work things out pretty well. We're rational people. Shockingly these days that people can be like that, I guess. But I don't think the couple things I don't want to miss. I don't think any citizen would play a huge role in writing the bids. I just don't. I think they would. We could provide input, but if I'm being honest, I think our township manager wants control of that with input from someone like a PFM, whether it's PFM or
It looks
not.
like PFM didn't really do a good job.
Understandable, but I we'll see. But the other aspect that I don't want to lose sight of is that whatever the bids are, and we are very concerned about rates. We've mentioned that a few different ways as a group, and I think the supervisors are too. So one of the ideas that's been floated is whether it's a $53 million bid, a $56 million bid, because the rates aren't frozen per se, would be to take some number, 15 million ish, I think John was presented.
Yeah.
And put that in, I call this the Ethan Schiller approach. Put it in a trust and use that money to pay back to whoever the purchaser is to sort of artificially keep rates down for some period of 10 years. So ultimately,
You're just lowering the
Purchase price.
sale price.
yeah. So that's what's been floated as a means to address the bids. Address the future rate increases to basically pay the purchaser back.
And with
based on the two primary bids that are being presented tonight.
I was, my strong recommendation is throw the bids out and let's rebid it with the right verbiage and everything else. Let's make it transparent to everyone, this in the sewer authority and everything. Take their recommendations. I mean, if it comes back and, PA American Water is going to give us, a good price and they're going to come back this time and say, oh, we're going to hold your rates for 3 years. Okay. I mean, the sewer authority might come and say, yeah, American Water, or Bucks County, one or the others, but I think we just need to do it right for the taxpayers.
Yeah. So with that, a big part of the deal is the ballooning payment on the golf course is one of the arguments to sell sooner rather than later. As you know,
flush the taxpayers down the sewer just to worry about a golf course that is supposed to be paying for itself.
Yeah. So it's 6 o'clock now. I think, John, our meeting starts at 7.
Well, I wish you good luck, and I hope you take our recommendations.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at right now.
We need a formal resolution that's voted on.
Yeah, we need some. Can you take a few minutes here?
Yes.
And think, give some solid recommendations. I would like that we could take back to the board based on what you know.
I would say a solid recommendation that is to reject the bids, to rebid it again, with the right verbiage and to review the bid and just not review the price tag. I'll make that motion.
So
Second.
So, I'd like to dig into it a little bit, see if there's more to it than just rebid. We talked about exploring the new authority option. I don't know, how does this group feel about doing that?
I believe it's in our favor to our neighbors to talk to them, you know, and if they're in compliance with say, hey, let's start a joint authority, then yes, let's, you know, Dan, John, let's all look into it and see if it's feasible for the township. I mean, we're doing this for the good of the township.
Mm-hmm.
The sales or possible sales. So yes, we need to look at all our avenues.
So,
All right. So
Mhm.
I think the Board of Supervisors should reject all bids. The board should complete discussions with state and federal officials regarding any strategy, whether that's financing improvements or a potential new treatment facility. The board should complete discussions with neighboring municipalities, service authorities, any options for a regional authority, or could serve the Lower Makefield residents for a viable option regarding flows. And the results of that ultimately should, you know, yield something for the township, and also keep in mind our little brother, as someone mentioned, in Yardley Borough. And we can convene at a later date.
Would you recommend? I'm sorry, Scott. Did you have? We had a lot of stuff there. Did you have rejecting? There's been a lot of talk about rejecting bids and rebidding.
On you to reject the bids also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that there's a clear, concise, reasonable recommendation that comes out of here. Because this group, look, we're all professionals that have some level of background in this specific issue. You know, whether it's directly with sewers and engineering, procurement, or public-private partnership type of stuff, right? And public policy, all related to this. You know, this particular group may have more experience than the actual Board of Supervisors. That's why we have this group. So I want to make sure that when we're, you know, when someone argues against this process, that it's a legitimate process. If you're going to promote something, that it's legitimate, it's not just to stop something. That's my concern about any of this, is that it's I don't want it to be perceived as just trying to stop something for the sake of stopping it. I want it to be real, that, you know, this is for a legitimate attempt to do what is indeed the best for Lower Makefield Township. That's my main.
We want to do the best for Lower Makefield Township, and that's, you know, that's why you're supervisors and we're on the board, because we're supposed to look out for the taxpayer.
I think Scott's resolution, or his resolution, was good. I think the only thing that was missing was, if we don't get a favorable result, then we should consider rebidding, right, at a later date. Would that be the board's, the subcommittee's general opinion? I don't want to, impede in any way, but my sense is that if we didn't get a good result from those discussions, we should rebid. Is the belief then from board members? Okay. I'm not saying that's my policy, but that's yours, and that's fine.
Well, it's like I said, if we put it out for bid again, you know, we might, basically, I think you might see higher prices.
It's very yes, it's, and, one would never know. Yeah.
You're never going to know. I don't think you're going to see lower. You might see higher. But the other thing too, is, the one comment is, I didn't really like if our outside party that was selling, helping us sell the sewer system was favoring one company. I never believed in favors on bidding. So, I mean, there's a little speculation on my part, but we don't know. But I would say let's reject these bids and let's do it right. That's it, Mr. Dan, Mr. John.
I think you have to take you have a second or?
No, we got plenty of time.
Yeah, no.
I got a second.
Scott's laughing. So Scott, you made a motion.
I think Dan Coffin.
Yeah. So your motion, just if you want to repeat your motion, then someone can second it. We can vote on it. Would be the best option if you want.
Oh man.
Hopefully Dan will recover.
But yeah, reject the bids tonight. Complete your discussions with the state and federal officials. Meet with the neighboring municipalities, potential service authorities, and once the results of those discussions with those appropriate parties are done, perhaps consider rebidding at a later date. In summary, did I miss anything?
No, I think that's good, Dan.
About it.
Bill?
The motion on the table. Anybody second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. So, Scott, since you so eloquently said that, can you write that up in the next few minutes and send it to this group so we can present it to the board?
Sure.
You're
I
the
got
best, Bob.
9% on my phone here, so better get moving. So all right.
John will fix the typos. Don't worry.
I
I'll
think
send it
it's a great discussion.
So
This is it.
all right, guys.
All right.
Move to adjourn.
Good luck.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Yes.
Go
Thank you,
Flyers.
Like they
Flyers.
said, Dan the Torpedo is full speed ahead.
Thanks to the video crew, guys. See you later tonight.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'll be watching.